Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the SolidCAD Scan to BIM and CAD Matterport webinar for architecture and interior design. My name is Dan Coogan. I'm with SolidCAD. I've got here on my panel co-presenter Jay Polding. Jay, you there?
Oh. I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah. If you want to just speak up, and I'm just going to just ask the audience if you guys can all hear us clearly. And if anyone is having issues with audio, not hearing us, please let us know right now in the chat box. We'll give you guys about a minute before we kind of move through these. All right, so I'm getting audio is clear, good. Okay, so we are clear for takeoff on this Wednesday afternoon in quarantine, and we're gonna do our best having to deal with this situation and give you guys the best information we can during this webinar. I should probably throw some caution to you guys that if my kid walks in, you know, cut me some slack. And I don't know, Jay, if you're gonna have that issue today, but yeah, we're doing our best to kind of work from home. Yeah. Doors closed, yeah. The doors closed, the lights on, and people are like in the back. So yeah. Let's get things rolling here. So
dog.
Oh, you hear your dog's barking. So let's cut right into this. Hopefully we can wrap things up within 35, 40 minutes. We'll leave some time at the end. I see here there's a lot of the customers who've already purchased Matterport, which is great. You guys might get some good tips and tricks today. And again, there's a lot of customers, prospects who've never used Matterport and are just wanting to know more about it. And that's really the purpose of this webinar today. My co-host Jay Polding, he's been with SolidCAD close to 15 plus years, a ton of experience. He's going to help us out on demonstrating the capabilities of taking the point cloud data from the Matterport and showing us some tips and tricks on how to use it within Revit. This presentation is going to be catered a little bit more to the architectural community, but again, it's applicable to all disciplines who have to deal with as-built conditions. So let's kick things off here. Quick agenda. Let me just make sure my screen is working. There we go. We'll kind of go through an introduction of SolidCAD and Matterport. Then we'll get into understanding the traditional workflows versus the Matterport workflows. And then we'll talk about how Matterport works in general. And then finally moving into how do you take those field measurements and that data capture into your Autodesk workflow using Revit and also AutoCAD. And we'll leave some time at the end for doing some questions and answers, okay? If you do have any questions, please use the GoToWebinar dialog here. Just type in your questions and we'll whiteboard those and answer them at the end for you. All right. So quick understanding of who are you watching. SolidCAD has been around for quite some time. We've got a long history. We are the biggest and most specialized Autodesk partner here in Canada. Jay and I are both located here in Toronto. So if you have any questions, you're happy to set up a meeting later on with us once the entire COVID-19 situation kind of settles down. We are under a much bigger company called Cancel, and we're one of their big primary business units looking after their Autodesk portfolio, as well as all the other complementary solutions to that. We do a lot of different things at SolidCAD. Everything from your day-to-day training, BIM consulting, and mentoring to our staff and projects. We do a lot of the scan and BIM now, implementing the equipment for companies who are looking to fast track their projects, and we'll show you how that's going to be done later. We also do a ton of tech support for clients. We did over, I believe, close to 3,000 plus support cases, and that number keeps growing, and we're really proud of helping our customers out. Some of the other solutions that we look after that you might be using or not working with SolidCAD, or you might be exploring, by all means, please reach out to us if you have any specific questions about these solutions or how they kind of all work with the other platforms. We have 15 offices and 12 training facilities across Canada. We do a lot of training for our clients. The majority of them are actually hosted at their office, so we do a ton of custom tailored training for our clients, and it ranges everything from your day-to-day AutoCAD to Revit introductory trainings up to some really advanced level BIM training on dealing with curtain walls or advanced constructability studies. It could be anything, and we have a ton of experience with that. We have the biggest technical team here in Canada covering the Autodesk products. So a little bit about Matterport and SolidCAD partnership. So we've been around working with them for a few years now, and we've been building their AC community and users. We're really proud. We've seen a lot of successful cases and customer success stories. We actually had one done with HH Angus. There's a few others underway. So keep your eyes open to seeing how these other companies have been working with Matterport and using it in their practice. Again, if you have any questions of how to use Matterport or even some of the Autodesk products that you're currently partnered with SolidCAD, you have access to our frontline support. So please, if you're looking for the answer, good chances that we probably have it already. So give us a call or shoot us an email. We'll be happy to help you out with that. So we're going to first start off with a quick introduction to Matterport, understanding about where this solution kind of fits in, and from there we're going to get right into the actual intended use of Matterport in the AC field. So Matterport's been around for quite some time. They actually started with more into the real estate field, and eventually they kind of expanded that into the AC industries and segments. So working with SolidCAD, we've been able to expand their footprint and helping clients, use it as a stepping stone into more advanced level scanning. But even just companies who are trying to, be cutting edge or still competing against some of the bigger companies who are using the lasers. And using Matterport has been, amazing for these companies because one, they've saved time. Two, they've been able to, fast track and become more coordinated with their projects and offer more value to their clients as well. There's a few different solutions that Matterport works with, and Matterport you got to look at as more of a platform, but they do actually have their own hardware solution, which is the Pro 2 that we'll be looking at in this presentation. But it also plugs into some really basic 360 cameras. Qualities, again, not as advanced or as great as the Pro 2, and also with the BLK 360, the Leica laser solution. So looking at where Matterport works in the industry, there's a lot of different use cases. We have some customers using it in day-to-day stuff for, keeping track on, construction site. There are some architects who are using it to capture their as-builts that we're going to be focusing on. And with this presentation, we have customers who are using it for their day-to-day operations and facility management, creating either wayfinding maps or creating, owner and operation manuals for their facilities. Helping onboard new staff, helping them understand, the general scope of the building that they have to deal with, or some of the equipment. So there's a lot of different great use cases. We also have some, niche industries like insurance that people are using to do some kind of insurance or forensic engineering reports with the Matterport systems, and also using the data to create new documentation for that. So again, in this group here, I see that there's a lot of architects and engineers and some constructors and some building owners, and we're going to try to do our best to, just keep this as a general presentation. So again, not everyone's going to be using Revit, but most of you have to deal with existing conditions at some point. So we're going to focus on that particular theme. So the two main ways that we see the use cases for Matterport in the architectural field are that people are using it for construction documentation. They're either going in during the construction phases, taking different snapshots, milestones, and seeing how things are, captured before maybe, say, you're doing a framing on a job and you want to make sure that you get all the information prior to the wallboards being, attached to those frames. Or another case is dealing with as-builts. We have to deal with maybe a very unique, building. It takes too long to maybe measure it the traditional way, and it might be better and faster, more coordinated, and less time on site. Again, using the Matterport. And I think, Jay, you've had a ton of experience with renovations and having to deal with those existing conditions and trying to sketch things out the old-fashioned way. How many times have you probably made mistakes on the job site, capturing those field measurements.
And it's not just that, Dan. It's having to go back out, to capture something that you're wondering about. So it saves so much time to just have the reality there at your fingertips.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we don't actually capture those costs of like the travel, those small little errors that we have to make going back to site. So I'm always saying that if you're using a scan to BIM solution, you're going to get it right usually. I would say almost every time from the first time. So again, we're going to look at how the Pro 2 fits in your workflow. So I'm just going to skip through this slide here. There's a lot of information here, and we'll be posting this presentation onto our YouTube channel later on. There is a lot of information, and let's go here. So what is Matterport? Well, Matterport, again, it's a cloud platform that does a lot of the processing and hosting and allow to companies to share and collaborate on the immersive environment that they're dealing with. But it also is a Pro 2 camera, which is, I believe, off the top of my head, it's about 134 megapixels, 4K resolution, and also has a structured light sensor to allow you to create interior meshes that would eventually be converted into point clouds that would be imported into Revit. So a lot of information I just said there. Just all you have to really remember, it's a way to capture interior conditions and eventually bring that into your CAD or BIM software. And again, when we compare that to our traditional ways, I think Jay just said, we're always, second guessing ourselves. Did I make that right correction, the measurement the first time? Do I have to go back? These traditional ways of measuring, they're not as accurate as using more advanced software technologies like Matterport or like a BOK, or maybe more advanced stuff like Faro. Obviously, those have a higher price point, but you have to look at it as a long-term investment that over time you're starting to save your money on your time and those errors that you're making on site.
Like even if you have Dan, even if you have a laser scanner, or not a laser scanner, a laser measurer device, sure, it's accurate, very accurate, but you're only getting 1 point. So you got to measure 3 or 4 times up one surface. So it's the accuracy and it's the speed. That's really what I love about this.
It's just getting that structural geometry correct the first time, because you're just not going to be as good on site without a piece of hardware that could capture more information than your eyes and your pencil and notepad. So a lot of people are always asking, how accurate is Matterport? Well, the accuracy is, let's just say, on paper they call it 99%, but I like to say it's more schematically correct. So I'm not using it to fabricate or manufacture any components for the building. I'm using it to just get proper space plans so I can make better decisions on how to lay out my interior plans for future use. And again, if you're in the consulting side, I don't think there are many companies who will take the guarantee that all their measurements are perfect. If you are looking down to the millimeter accuracy, then I would say you should increase your budget and look at much higher, more advanced level solutions like Faro. So what can you scan with Matterport? And I'm just going to say that there's a bit of a latency on this presentation, so I'll try to move a little bit slow. Everything is moving very smoothly on my screen, but it might look a bit choppy on your end. So you can use Matterport pretty much for a lot of different, almost any building, but there are obviously limitations with the hardware. There's different workarounds, different best practices of how to deal with some large conditions. We have companies who are using it for very small tenant build-outs, maybe a small retail fit-out. We have companies who are using it for day-to-day renovations on custom homes, or a huge renovation on a institutional, or even going into full factory layouts and using that as well. And again, it's all dependent on the performance of your iOS device. So if you have a much faster CPU on your iPad or iPad Pro or your iPhone, then it's going to do a much better job of transferring the data from your camera over to your phone and create a faster alignment so you can upload that to the cloud to get processed. So the faster the iPad, iOS device, or iPhone, the faster it will be on site. What you can get out of your Matterport scans, again, you can get that 4K walkthrough, the showcase. I think maybe many of you have already seen some of those samples in the gallery. We can export also 2D dimensional plans, schematically correct, and eventually those floor plans can be imported into AutoCAD. And we can also get the point cloud data coming in as a XYZ point cloud format, which is open source, and use that, which we're going to show to you in Recap, which is the point cloud registration software by Autodesk, to prepare it for importing into AutoCAD or Revit. And then also getting the high resolution images that we can use as part of our presentation or sharing or marketing or so on. And there's a lot of other additional features and benefits that you get out of your standard Matterport cloud plan. And that also includes Matterport VR. So even when you're doing client meetings, you might want to emphasize certain parts of the building or issues on site that you can also use the VR capabilities within Matterport. And I just want to emphasize that is a very common question I get, is it laser? It's not a laser scanner. It is a photo-based scanner with a structured light sensor in it. So it is using a infrared light to create meshes, kind of similar to the the Microsoft Xbox Connect, but it's capturing that mesh texture surface of the interior, which using the Matterport's cloud plan, it will allow you to convert that into a decimated point cloud that we would import into our Autodesk software. So how easy and how fast does it take to start working with Matterport? Well, the learning curve is actually pretty low. Most of the times I get a lot of my users up and running within 1 to 2 hours. I mean, and I'm not sugarcoating that. I mean, seriously, if you go through your typical you read through the typical literature that we provide you, you could be up and running with Matterport pretty quickly. And all it really is downloading the Capture app to your iOS device. And you can see here, there's 2 versions here. I've got one on the right here for my iPhone, and the other one here on the left is with the iPad. And then using the Matterport Pro 2's dedicated hotspot, you would connect the iOS device and start scanning. So you do not need to be connected to any, like internet connection or anything like that, or having a 4G network. You don't need any outside connection. You could be working underground in the basement and still be using your Matterport. After you've done everything, then you would pack up your gear and eventually go back to your office and connect to the typical Wi-Fi and upload that to your cloud plan and wait for it to get processed. Once it's processed, you can start doing a quick walkthrough to see, what you've actually scanned. And then from there, we can download, purchase specific assets from our cloud plan that would allow us to import that information into our Autodesk software like AutoCAD or Revit. So we're going to look at an example that I did a couple years ago, and this is a great typical case study. This is about a 9,000 square foot facility right here in Toronto, Henderson Brewery. Definitely, I always say right now with the COVID situation, support your local businesses. Definitely, especially all those craft breweries, if you can. And I believe they are delivering right now within the GTA. So I took this, I took the Pro 2 a while back, and I did a scan of the entire interior. So we say running a demo, what could possibly go wrong? So let's jump into seeing what that scan looks like. So I'm going to just increase my screen here. And this was the results. I'm just going to zoom out here, wait for the screen to update. There it is. So I got this, move this really slow.
It's pretty smooth on my end.
Is it? Okay, good. So I don't have to,
It's not bad. It's not bad.
I don't have to be crawling with this But you can see there's a ton of information here that we have. Now, at the time, we were talking about expanding the equipment and adding some additional brewing tanks and some additional canning lines. So I provided all this information to the guys at Henderson, and they were just blown away by how much information they were able to take from here, just this typical walkthrough, and share that with maybe future suppliers or even onboarding staff and giving them a quick walkthrough of where things are prior to stepping onto the factory floor. And just walking through this like only took me a couple hours to scan this entire space, right? But we have so much information in here, which Jay's going to go a little bit deeper in his side of the presentation. But we can also take information and maybe use it with marketing. Maybe someone who has to rent out the space in here for future events. She can use this as part of her, meetings. We can zoom in on some areas as well and just see good amount of detail in here. Now, even better was, recently Matterport had implemented a new feature for us to go in here and provide everyone with the ability to do some measuring. So in here as well, I just did this quick measurement to see the accuracy of this 9,000 square foot property. But we can look at here, we have some crates, and the height of these crates are actually about 11 inches. So if you do the math, there's about 8 of them here, and they should equal exactly, this measurement is just about off by maybe an inch or an inch and a half, which again, if you're just doing some space planning or just creating a first draft of your as-built, this is more than sufficient.
It's such a nightmare too, Dan, when you're trying to measure equipment. You're in a space and you're trying to, there's all this equipment in the way, you're not sure if you should measure it or not. And so yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, so we just going into here, just escape there, but just getting some quick measurements, seeing that this is a 16 foot, we've got it 16 feet, maybe, how much do we have to the next truss there? Yeah, we've got 35 plus feet. So definitely you get a lot of information just out of the box with your Matterport scans. Now, what else we have in here again is we have our photos that we can take snapshots of as well, that we can download and use for marketing. We can create simple videos as MPEGs or GIFs. And again, if you are working with a client and having a ton of buildings that you're working on for them, within Matterport, we can create directories and start, creating, compiling all their buildings into a single folder. In here, for example, I'll just move back here. So you can start creating a list of all their projects and just give them access to that one folder. So there's a nice way to deal with the users within your Matterport cloud plan. And then finally, before I go over to Jay, we have here the Matterpack. So the Matterpack is a small additional fee on top of your current cloud plan, but it does allow you to download a zip file that would contain the OBJ file as well as the .xyz file. Now I downloaded one here earlier, and so let's take a look at what you see in here. So when you download it, you're getting a lot of information here. So you can see these JPEGs. These are just decals that are attached to the OBJ file. Now OBJ files are great if you're dealing with maybe SketchUp or 3ds Max. And the OBJ file from Matterport scans are pretty good. But if you're looking for more accurate ways of, creating your as-builts, then we're going to want to take our .xyz file from this folder. And once we've exported that, we're going to open it up in our software called Recap. So here is the software Recap. It's part of your AC collection. And what this does is it allows us to prepare the data. I'm going to just actually reset that to what it looks like originally. So this is exactly the point cloud, the OBJ file or the .xyz file, I should say, that we would import into Recap as the pre-step to getting into Revit. Unfortunately, Autodesk prefers working with its own point cloud systems. But again, this software, you can either buy it as a free version or get it as a free version or get the pro version, which would give you a little bit more control. So in here, we can start doing some early assessments, maybe take a quick look from the top. And we can see here some quick ideas. Maybe we want to do a quick measurement. Maybe you're a project manager and someone's very eager to get some measurements. Now you might not see the measurements in here. I'm just using a 4K monitor, so it's a little bit small, but the number there we see here is about 24 feet. So the point cloud will give you the best accuracy, based on the dimension geometry. Now, before I go to Jay, let's just do a quick recap here. I've scanned it. I upload it to the cloud. A couple hours later, it gets processed. Now I download the point cloud. Okay, I'm just gonna close this. We don't need this and make it a little bit more screen. There we go. Now we're ready to bring this data into Revit because we're gonna have to create some as-built documentation. So I'm gonna pass this over to Jay. And Jay, just give me a second here.
One.
Make presenter. There you go. Now you have the spotlight.
Okay, good. Let me know when you can see my screen. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yep, we can see that here. So Jay,
okay,
just before you start, can you just show the quick tab of where the insertion, the point cloud insertion button is?
Sure. Right there.
That's it. One button.
You just drop it in and it's in the right place right away. Well, when you drop it in, you still might need to orient it according to the coordinates. That's sort of a might, but basically it just comes in, and then what you have is usually what I do right away is I'll go to an elevation view. Looks like that. And what you want to do is just take the point cloud and move it down to what would be considered 0. So you just move it down to maybe the top of concrete slab at the floor level, and you can put that there. Of course, slabs do deviate, in their elevation a little bit. That's the way they're poured usually on purpose, especially in a brewery. So you're going to get a little bit of up and down here, but basically that's in the right place. And the more carry you put in that, then the more accurate you will be. Okay, so it's moved down. We've got levels. Next step is you want to, and this is, Dan and I were talking about, this is sort of what we call a pro tip. So if you're in Revit, you can make something called a detail section. It's right here. It's just a type of section. You go to the type selector here and choose detail. The reason why you use detail is because you can go at any angle in any view. So what angle do I want? I think I just want this angle right here. And what that does, and I'm going to change the depth. So let me change the depth of that section.
And I just say, pay really good attention to this tip right now that Jay is going through.
Yeah, so what that creates is a detail view. There it is there. So I'm looking in the project browser here, and you can see that's detail 0. You can rename it. I'm going to explain a little bit further as we go. But essentially what this is doing is a very thin slice through the building, and you can just adjust it. If I go into like a plan view, another plan view, you'll see the extent of the detail around it. But what you're looking at is you're cutting out a certain strata in the elevation, and you're seeing certain things. So what you do is, if you have what I'll do, I'm going to shut down some of these views here. So I'm going to have an elevation view open. Okay, tab the windows. So this is the view that I'm looking at right now. That's this. So watch what happens when I go up and down. I'm also going to turn off the walls in this. So Dan and I like to do live demos. No smoke and mirrors. But it does, things can crash and stuff. But anyway, we're fine. So I'm using the arrow keys on the keyboard, and it kind of looks like a CAT scan or something like that. But I'm going to go right down to the bottom. So different stratas will tell you different things. So this will tell you, what your slab is looking like, where it's deviating, where it's sloping. As I go up, now I'm getting more into the wall strata. And then as I keep going up, you're going to see other features that are at different heights, like those tanks that we were talking about, where they start to appear. You got some stairs over on the left there I'm pointing at. You just keep going up, you keep going up, you keep going up. I'm going to go up until I get to where you start seeing HVAC. There's your HVAC.
And I probably should say that, yeah, Jay, like if you're dealing with consultants, this will save them a lot of time and make their job easier and make your coordination job a lot better.
Then you start getting into the structure, and then you get up into the roof, and then you also see how the roof, where the sloping is and where the high and low points are of the roof. So that's why, this is so valuable to be able to use these detail sections. I actually just want to get rid of that, because what I did is I did the same thing, but as I went, I just saved them and gave them names. So there's your walls. That's up at about, I don't know, 3 feet, something like that. Then you got your structure. Okay, so those are the joists. It's sloping structure, so it's not perfect as for seeing all of them, but I basically get the point there. And then there's my HVAC, so I can see how the HVAC is. And remember, this is reality capture. You're getting the reality. Once you start getting this, you just use the modeling tools inside of Revit to just start drawing things, start drawing walls. You can use the measuring tools. So if I find over here, I'll just look for a wall. I just want to go to the walls view here. So I'll go to a wall. Just move that out of the way. Okay, so you can measure that. Now, some people will ask you, like, well, why is this bending? Why are there, things like this? Sometimes there's something like some fabric or something hanging on a hook, and then it gets scanned. But you look in here, walls are not perfectly straight, right? Going up and down, there's deviations in the wall. So this is, imagine taking all of these scan points using a laser measuring point. That's what you're getting with this. You're getting all these points. So although Dan was saying, it's not 100% accurate, it's very accurate, much more accurate than I've ever measured with other, usually you need a couple people on a site going around with a tape measure for a day and drawing meticulously, and then you got to go back. So there's just a few tips on how you can bring the point cloud into Revit from Matterport, start modeling. Within a day, you should have a pretty good model made, depending on the complexity. If it's just the Henderson Brewery like this, within a day, you've got a good model that you can get going with, and it's based on reality. Okay, I'll hand it back to you, Dan,
yeah,
and
actually,
we're going to take some questions at the,
yeah, before you jump out, and I always like doing this, throwing another ball at toss something at Jay. Why don't you take the 3D camera and let's do a perspective shot of that door against the point cloud. And this is where, yeah, right there. And let's just see how that, there we go. So now, if you want to go to modify and click the select links and make sure, or so you don't get the slashing, unselect the point cloud links.
Oh, right, like right down here, select,
yeah.
Don't select links. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, and
so
then
now this is a great way, because now you're dealing with the point cloud of what is existing, and now we have the model geometry, and we can start overlaying the two and creating better coordination during our planning stage. And again, we're not focusing on the accuracy at this stage. We're just focusing on getting the right geometry on paper. And even if we take measurements from this, we're still going to be within a couple inches around most of the project. That against the actual model and the documents on Revit, from Revit.
Yeah, it's awesome. This is fun stuff. I think I actually got this in the wrong place. There's something else that looked like a door, but it was something just
Yeah,
leaning
it
up.
was actually, it was a two 36-inch doors. So one was closed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
But if you had
I could
your,
swap that
yeah,
out
yep.
for another family or pop that over there just for, sizing,
Hmm.
capabilities there. So, okay, cool. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, awesome. So let's gonna take over again, and we're just gonna wrap this one up here. So hopefully you guys got some good tips out of that. Um, what Jay has shown using the import of the point cloud, using the section detail. There we go, show my screen. So compare this, taking this building, just make sure you guys can see the screen here. You can see my screen, Jay?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, good, great. So if we took the traditional ways of measuring this entire interior of this building and trying to figure out where all the placements of the windows and the garage opening is, I mean, you're going to probably spend close to a day, or maybe have to go back the second day to double check your work. But I did this
Two
within a
people
couple hours.
all day here.
Two people,
Two
yeah.
people
Plus, you're taking a
full
camera,
day.
you're taking snapshots, grabbing lunch. Then you got to bring it back. So if you're the role of project manager, then you have your key production team member who's got to try to interpret and convert all your scratches into some kind of documentation. And there's a good chance that they're going to make mistakes, pass it back to you. You're making markups, passing it back to them, and that keep going through that cycle until you reach the right, you know, level of accuracy or coordination of the drawings. So do it the first time and the right time with Matterport, and you'll definitely save yourself a lot of time. And using again the Matterport Cloud Plan for getting the point cloud, people have always asked me, well, you're paying a little bit extra on the point cloud. Well, yeah, but it's doing all that extra work for you in the cloud, which you would have to do manually on your computer. So if you took a laser, they would traditionally take snapshots, you know, and then you eventually have to take all those raw data files and stitch them together. So Matterport takes care of that automatically for you. And eventually we get into full documentation. Now, if you're an AutoCAD user, you can still get your schematic 2D plans. They're not bad, but again, the point cloud is going to be the most accurate. So if you could take advantage of the point cloud, do that. And the process of importing the point cloud into AutoCAD is the same. Going into that insert tab and clicking point cloud and importing the saved recap file that comes with your AutoCAD or your AZ collection. Now, if you're dealing with some large conditions, you could obviously use Matterport's April tags, which does allow you to, use targets to improve the accuracy and the structural alignment. I highly recommend this if you're dealing with something like that has no objects, nothing unique. It just might be a clean room, just white floors, white walls, and fluorescent lighting. So definitely you want to use, April tags to improve your alignment. So the great thing again, wrapping up things here is Matterport, cleaner, smaller data, and I mean it's like maybe a tenth or a fraction compared to the laser data. Easier interface, a learning curve is quick, within a couple hours, and again it's more cost efficient because you're not having to do all the processing on your end. It's all done for you on the cloud, and all you end up doing is just paying your cloud plan to keep things moving. The Matterport cloud supports two main point cloud type cameras. So you can get the Pro 2. It's roughly about give or take around 5,000 Canadian. We have it on promo right now on our e-store, and then you can also get the Leica BLK360. Again, it's a bigger, longer range laser scanner, but it's at a 25K price point. Now, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call. My extension is there. You can also reach out to our group email, which multiple people will answer that. We also have our Matterport on sale right now on our website, on our e-store, so you can go there as well. So we're just going to leave the the webinar running, just answer any questions. I'm just going to take a look here if there's anything. Yes, learning curve is definitely quick. So thank you, Peter. Yeah, so do we have any more questions here? Oh, there is actually a few. So let me just pop this screen open here. Okay. Jay, can you see some of those questions too?
Yeah, there's a question about what would be considered abnormal temperature. So maybe you could speak to that, about what temperatures you want to run this thing at.
Yeah, so you don't want to go be using your Matterport Pro 2 or doing any type of scan during rain or snow or anything like that, or humid conditions. Again, you don't want the buildup of humidity or dust or frost on your lens of your camera, or if you're using a laser BLK on the mirror. So the cameras are not intended to be used in those really bad conditions. Try to find a stable, clear day or interior to work with. So yeah, good question. The Leica camera enables higher pricing of services. Are companies paying up for that? So again, that depends. There are some companies who might make the investment in laser only because they have the clients to back them up on making that big investment. Again, they might be dealing with some bigger projects like brownfield process piping that would require a laser. So the bigger the fee, obviously you have the bigger budget for higher end equipment. But otherwise, if you're going to use the BLK as a service for other clients, you definitely want to charge more to cover the cost of that equipment. Good question.
I have
good
one answer to that as well, just an example of that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a very, very large warehouse in Ohio, and they were paying multiple firms to come in to do various things like install new lines, install HVAC, retrofit things. And every time they did that, they had to pay a measuring fee. So measure as built, so that they could fit their equipment in there. So they got sick of that, and they just scanned it and said, look, here's a scan you can access for free, but we don't want to be charged as built measuring anymore. So that's a service you could talk to your clients about if they want. There's these digital twin concepts coming out there. This is a beginning of that. So there are business opportunities for those who can get creative with how this data can be used.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question here, can you use a hybrid of the Matterport Pro 2 with the regular 360 cameras? What is the impact on the cloud point? Well, the 360 cameras will not provide you with any data collection, like point cloud data collection. So you won't see any of the information from your 360 camera. Honestly, I think it's a bit redundant if you're using the Pro 2 and the regular 360s together. I would just say just stick to the Matterport Pro 2. You're one, going to get the point cloud data, and two, you're going to still get higher visual information. The resolution will be substantially better than the 360 camera. So try to avoid the 360 and Pro 2 together if you could. Next question is it possible to create a custom video and photos from the Matterport model? You can, yeah. So I'm just going to jump back get out of this and go back to my cloud plan here. So you can create tours. Let me just move my, here it is. So what you could do is you could end up creating multiple pictures in here, okay? And then going back to your showcase model is drag my GoToMeeting here. Is going into, sorry, I have to keep moving my my GoToMeeting for the buttons when I need them. Where is it? There it is. Go into your workshop and you can create preloaded tours. So someone, like what they call is the highlight reel. So if you click the highlight reel, you can just drag the photos of where you took, right? And so when you do launch it, they simply would end up playing automatically. And you can kind of see how it kind of goes to specific areas that you've snapshotted in your tour. So you can turn this on to go as a slideshow or a walkthrough. If you're going to do the walkthrough, take snapshots a little bit closer together so it's not that motion blur throughout the highlight reel. So yeah, good question. Jump back in here. And what's the next question you got there, Jay?
Just take a quick look here. Pop that out. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, we got
tour. Can you show this?
All right.
Okay.
Could we import
I'm just trying to get the?
Yeah. So I'm just going to scroll down here.
Oh, is recap required? Yeah, it is. But if you have Revit, you've got recap because it's all part of the AEC collection.
Mm-hmm.
So you will, because you want to turn it into a recap file and then bring the recap file into Revit. Revit does support some other file types, but that's how we did it here.
Yeah, if you're looking for the smoothest import, then definitely use recap. If you don't have it, you need the pro version. It's only a few $100s per year to use. But if you're going to use it regularly, definitely subscribe to it. What else we got there, Jay?
Non-cloud option for storing? I guess you could just store it on your own server. I mean, you download all the images and yeah. Mm-hmm. Usually this is only needed for a time, and then you can just download everything. You've got it on your own servers. But you might want to leave it up while you're collaborating with others to build the model. So yeah, you could host it on your own server.
Could the point cloud be imported directly into Revit, or is recap? You just answered that. Could we import 360 real photos in Revit cloud file? So Revit does not support 360-degree photos, but you can import just static 2D JPEGs. So that's what I would recommend. So if you're going to use a Matterport and then looking for a decal to put on a billboard or a wall, then you can do that with from your Matterport scan. Does that make sense, Jay? Am I answering that one correct?
Yeah. Someone asked about these April tags.
Yep. Best practices. No, that was the question about.
That kind of ties into the best practices, right?
Yeah. So for scan to scan distances, typically you're going to scan about. If you look at the scan I did here at the Henderson Brewery, I moved approximately every 5 to 7 feet apart. But if I was dealing with a really empty warehouse in here, then yes, I would use the tags. I would put them low markers up here, and that would help me keep the alignment based on the really plain geometry and nothing really here to visually align to. So if you're wondering where do you get those, you just simply type in Matterport April tags, and you can download a PDF package and print those up. Yeah, so there you go. So we're just going to wrap it up here. If you guys have any more questions, please just email us here at matterport@solidcad.ca, and we'll be happy to answer them for you. Thank you again. Stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, Jake.
Yeah, thanks a lot. See you guys.